So, I'm recovering from surgery. Still, it's gonna be a while. And I stupidly, in the excitement of everything, forgot that I have an MRI schedule today, which, as I'm sure most of this audience knows, you can't have anything metallic when you go into an MRI machine. And I stupidly, because I've been feeling so blobby and scrubby and filthy lately after surgery, I was like, you know what? I want to feel girly. So I painted my nails, and they're actually quite, oh god, there it goes. This you can't really see because it's not in direct sunlight, but it's very holographic, very pretty, very sparkly, and we've got pink on the rest of the fingers. And I was feeling pretty fly, and I just painted them last night with the top coat and a base coat. So I mean, like, I was serious. I wrapped the tips. I did everything to make a beautiful, long-lasting manicure. And I realized these might have metallic particles in them, which you can't have in an MRI machine. So I went and I called the companies that make the nail polish, and they weren't sure, but they felt like there could be a possibility that there could be traces of metallic particles. So I need to remove this, and while I do this, I just wanted to check in. I've been missing from social media as far as It's Only a Bruise goes. This is not coming off as easily as I hoped. I've been kind of staying away from the internet for the most part since the surgery. It all happened so fast. It was an emergency surgery, very, very short notice, not what I expected. And there's been some surprises since then, just to add on to my summer of constant problems. So where was I going with this? It's been interesting, this recovery, because for the last 8 weeks, when before I had surgery, but had that sustained that I can't speak, injury, my mobility was somewhat limited, but for maybe like 6 weeks of that, I was walking full weight on my leg, which we found out was not ligament damage and meniscus damage. And once I finally got around to getting imaging done, we found out that I was actually walking around on a broken tibial plateau. So that's not good. And so that's what I needed to have surgery on. And because I had waited the time that I did, it was pretty healed up, and so they kind of had to re-break the bone. And in doing so, and I wasn't going to bring this up here on It's Only a Bruise because it's kind of just personal stuff that, doesn't really have anything to do with the content that I normally put up here. But in a way, it kind of does tie in, and to MS and stuff like that. And so I guess, the whole purpose of me starting It's Only a Bruise and stuff like that was to kind of like take people along on a journey with me. So I think it's only fair that now that I've had some time to process and digest, I can talk about this. So while they were doing my surgery, they had to kind of re-break part of the bone and kind of shift everything up, and then put like a metal plate in and a whole bunch of screws and hardware and stuff like that. So when they were doing that, there's a point, and I apologize, I'm not a medical professional, so I might be kind of, my terminology and explaining this is probably way off, but they have to, in order to break the bone, they take like a chisel type tool and then, kind of chip away at the bone to re-break it where they need to re-break it. And normally they do this by taking the chisel and hitting it with a mallet. My surgeon didn't need the mallet. My bones were a lot more fragile than they should be for, someone of my age. And that was a cause for concern. So I had a whole bunch of blood work done. I collected my urine for 24 hours, which it's not as fun as it sounds. And I had a bone density scan done, and I got the news the other day, something that I kind of felt in my gut, once all of this kind of came to light. I got the news that I, at a very young age, have osteoporosis, which kind of sucks because I'm very young and, I already have MS. Um, another kind of invisible situation that I can't really do much to control. So it's kind of frustrating and scary because it's something new that I now have to deal with for the rest of my life. And where this ties into MS is okay, I've been vegan for the last 10 years. So my vitamin D levels have always, not always, but, have, over the last few years been kind of low. And that is partially because, obviously, I look like a vampire corpse, so I don't get out in the sun much. And the only food source that you can get vitamin D from that is also vegan is mushrooms. So, I would take supplements here and there, and we all know how vitamin D kind of ties into how it's starting to be linked to MS as well. But, so there's that, and then there's also calcium, but I don't feel like I've had any kind of calcium deficiency, and I certainly don't in my current blood work. And, I'm not as active as I could be, but I was thinking about, they said that, this bone loss stuff is cumulative from your whole life and your habits your whole life. So, I'm thinking back around my whole life, I have been active, and been doing things that are like good for the bones, like walking and jumping and, stuff like that. I really won't get into details about everything that I've done my whole life. But my point is, we're trying to pinpoint, kind of like when we get that diagnosis of MS, we try to kind of pinpoint, like, what was that thing? What did I do wrong? What's that one thing that made this thing manifest? And my rheumatologist, before and after the bone density scan, based on the information that I gave and everything, he continues to feel pretty strongly that what kind of maybe caused this bone density loss in myself is being on steroids to help treat MS relapses, which I'm sure many of you out there have also done. And he said that, while chronic steroid usage obviously, raises your chances for bone loss, any amount will do it. So I'm wondering if maybe it was, maybe I just had low bone density my whole life, and then those steroid infusions were just the thing to just, flick it off the edge. But I guess my point is, and the whole reason I'm kind of bringing this up here, is that I would not have known about this bone stuff had somebody not cracked my leg open and re-broke my leg. I wouldn't have known. So I might have gone my whole life without knowing about this until I break a hip. So I'm just kind of curious, because I've only been used minimal steroids. I think I was on an infusion for 2 days. It caused really bad joint pain for me. It was unbearable, so I stopped it. But then there was like another period where I think I was on prednisone. It was some kind of oral steroid. I think it was like for about 2 weeks. And I'm sure at some other point in my life, non-MS related, I'm sure I've been on steroids for something. So I'm curious just to know how many people, how many of you have used steroids? Have you run into any complications like this? Have any of your doctors talked to you about bone loss? That's about it. So that's my life. It's been a ride this summer. It's definitely tested my limits and everything. And like I said when I started this video, this certainly has been eye-opening now that I'm completely limited in mobility. I am zero, like no weight bearing for 10 weeks, so another 8 weeks. And it's been really eye-opening, like once when you're trying to just function, all the time, just to do like your normal daily routine. Like even me right now, I'm removing nail polish and I'm like leaning over the sink, on one foot with my walker in front of me. You know, because if soft bones weren't enough to make you feel like an 80-year-old woman, it's also walking around with a walker. But anyways, things could be worse. They could be so much worse, and there's so much I have to be thankful for. But this whole summer, it's been like every 2 weeks or so, sometimes less. It's like just something new, and I don't have enough time to recover. So that's what's been going on. So tonight I have my routine MRI on my brain for my annual shtick. So I'm gonna go do that. Finish removing this whole time. I only got one hand done. Such a shame. I mean, come on. Look at so pretty. This lighting's terrible. Doesn't do it justice. But okay, enough rambling. So cat's out of the bag. I have jelly bones. Cool. All right. Hope everybody's well, and let me know if you've ever had any issues with steroids before, if you've ever had conversations about bone density or any other kind of complications with your doctor. Okay.